on the beast. Eat, sleep, flex, and repeat. Whole new swag with a price on the tag. Coming live from the west to the east. Better recognize on the mouthpiece. See the power level gotta increase. Bringing content on a daily. Feeling like Gresh unleashed.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary pals, and everybody in between. Welcome back to the Gresh Unleashed podcast, but this is a different type of feel because, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second annual end of the year awards 2022. We didn't do last year because life happened, but we are back here this year. It is Gresh Unleashed and Life's a Botch podcast representing or presenting you the end of the year awards. I am the voice that does the most. Gresh, joining me as always is my right hand man, the one half of one of the tag team champs of the podcasting game, repping that nice Ice Cube t-shirt. He is the one and only my boy, Mr. Hi-Lite Real. What's good with you, brother?
Hey, what's going on, brother Gresh? Hey, listen, it's great to be back in the building. You know what I'm saying, with the homie Gresh, the tag team duo of the year, if I do say so myself. I think it's safe to say that's our annual award, right? That's our
annual thing. We're a tag team of the year. We on this podcasting game. We knock it out.
Still standing, baby. Ready to go.
Yep.
Let's go.
And for those of you who don't know, this is episode 31. This is the season finale of the Gresh and Unleashed podcast. This is the last episode of the year. What one hell of a year! 31 episodes produced. Also, a special shout out to my main co-host, Swallow the Bandit. She isn't here for this episode, but we gave her swan song for this season. Last episode 30, where we reviewed WWF Raw from 2001. Hilarious. You guys should go check that out if you haven't already done so. It was my mission, my 2022 mission, to basically make her break out of nowhere every single episode, and I'm pretty sure I got her to break 29 out of 31 episodes. So we're good. I'm mission accomplished for your boy to make her break because she could not hold it in. But yo, shout out to her, love her, and we'll see her next episode. But for those of you who are new around here, this is the Gresh and Unleashed podcast, and we're gonna give you a little tidbit of what we got going on. This is the end of year awards. We got some nice categories for you guys. We got male superstar of the year, female superstar of the year, overall superstar of the year. We got tag team, faction, breakout moment of the year, return of the year, biggest surprise, biggest WTF moment that made you go like, what the just happened? But the LOL moment where we just died laughing or we just could not control our laughter. Extreme hardcore moment of the year. Real life legendary moment where we pay tribute to those who are biggest wrestling fans or who are affiliated with wrestling, who basically, I guess you can say, paved the way or made a big impact here in the wrestling industry. We give our honors that. Last year's was obviously Shad Gaspard, or the last edition, which was 2020, was Shad Gaspard and the late great Brody Lee, Mr. John Hubert. So we're going to name two more inductees, if you will, for this episode, for part one, because part two will take place over on Life's a Botch podcast, representing OTS Media, so you guys can follow them so you can keep it locked on what is going on with the Life's a Botch podcast. This episode will be coming out on December 15th, and the episode with Hi-Lite will more than likely drop a little bit after that, and then that's the end of 2022 for your favorite tag team. But hey, we don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. Let's get right to it. But first, let's catch up with you. So what you been up to, Mr. Hi-Lite? How's your 2022 been? Because this year is gone. This year is literally gone. We literally like 3 weeks, and then this year is done. So
yeah, man. Tell me about it. Like it's flying. Well, first and foremost, it's been a great 2022. It's had its up and down and in between moments in a good way, like every year always has with anyone. So, but it's been a fun ride, man. I've been grateful. Still riding strong with my oos right here, man, doing our thing. Life's a Botch podcast, Hi-Lite Real, the phenomenon. Been busy with the gigs again, man. We just all over the map, But we got some stuff, about that time of year to sit back, kind of plan, see how we want to do next year bigger and better. That's the Jordan year, 23, baby. So, you know what I'm saying? We're going to really go all out. And then we got the Kobe year, the year after. So, 2 strong years of grinding coming for the people. You know what I mean? So, we're going to make sure we do that. And, in case our boy Gresh didn't already mention, you know, your boy celebrated another year of life, you know, as of a couple days ago. So, shout out to 33, man, in a 23 year. You know what I'm saying? Crazy, man. Crazy.
33.
That's flying by, too.
I'm literally about to hit the back door of 30 because next year I'll be 29.
Bro.
And after that, I'll be the big 30. I'll be the dirty 30. That is my goal.
30, man.
That's my goal to hit 30 because I know a lot of cats, individuals my age aren't really making it to 30. Whether it's by choice or by life just hitting them. So that's my goal. I have real life moments with my family. I'm like, yo, my goal is to literally hit 30. My goal is to hit 30 and then live beyond that because it used to be people wanted to hit 50 and 60. They be like, I got my whole life ahead of you. But nah. So it's like live life to the fullest. Live life like it's golden. Live life basically to this fullest potential. And then if anybody tells you anything negative, you need new friends. That's literally all I can tell you. But before we move on to today's categories, Patreon, Gresh Unleashed, we got a few house notes, final house notes of the year. Patreon exclusive content is back, which includes the Watch and Vibe videos where we react to a classic match or whatever we decide to watch. It could be a classic cartoon, whatever we throw on, we react with you. And if you haven't already, episodes 1 through 4 are available now with a new one dropping this Friday. Those who are new, it's just $1 to join, and Watch and Vibe is available for all tiers. And if you want to join the club, you can do so today. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let us get into the categories for the end of the year awards. This has been one hell of a year. There's so much wrestling. A lot of people didn't make the list because we were literally winging it. We're not even gonna lie to you. We're winging it because this is what happens when you watch so much wrestling. When you watch nonstop wrestling, a lot of moments and OMG moments literally slips your brain. So it could be some categories that didn't make it, but it's always next year because I think the goal is to, even though there's a lot of moments, it should be your goal as a wrestler or a wrestling fan to stand out. So if you have moments that didn't stand out, you probably didn't make the list, but it's okay. And also, if you haven't already, if you haven't already, we are going to also decide the winners, or you, the listener, will decide the winner if you have voted over on www.greshandunleashed.com end of the year awards category where we gave you a nice little plethora of lists. You had LGBTQIA Superstar Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Faction of the Year, Return of the Year, and you also had Best Twitter Game. So if you feel like somebody had the best Twitter game that made you laugh, cry, interact, that you just felt like they deserved all their flowers for representing the wrestling business on social media the right way, that's what you chose. And also you have Announced Team of the Year, Best Podcast of the Year. I didn't put this podcast because I didn't want to give myself a big head, but we did. One of the categories is the Life's a Botch podcast. So if you voted on the Best Podcast of the Year, then you got you gave your favorite podcast their praise. And also the final choice for you guys is Best Fan Reaction of the Year. You have the return, but then you have some returns that didn't really get that desired fan reaction. So what was the best fan reaction of the year? You guys vote on that. Let's start with the LOL moment of the year, the LOL award. The categories, or the nominees are Sami Zayn forcing the Bloodline to break character on TV, where he was saying they're not feeling Usi. Nyla Rose steals Jade Cargill's TBS Women's Championship belt and actually poses as Jade Cargill during her matches in the preceding weeks. RK Bro versus Alpha Academy in an academic challenge on Monday Night Raw, and the "You're Not Uzi" chants to Jon Moxley on AEW Dynamite. So here's how we're going to determine the winner of this illustrious thing, because we're not going to lie to you. We're going to flip a proverbial coin to see who gets to pick the winner. So basically, we're hot potatoing. He picks a winner, I pick a winner, and we have to tell you and the listener, viewer, and each other why we picked this one. So we're going to start with you. You pick Hi-Lite picks the LOL moment of the year between those 4 categories.
Man, ooh, good choices here. But I'm going to go with my winner of this one being Sami Zayn making the Bloodline break character. For one, shout out to you, Sir Sammy. You win this award, my friend. You have just shown your lanes all around of what you can do. And by far, in this moment, you showed the people exactly why you are that dude. You know what I mean? Honorable mention in this award, actually, can also go to Sami Zayn. And so he could probably even split it if he wants. For the fact that he had a match at WrestleMania with Johnny Knoxville, a whole jackass match. That whole match in itself was an LOL, getting smacked by a whole hand, in the middle of a match. So, Sammy, you've just been golden with your comedy all year, my friend, and in ways that when you're making the Bloodline break character, when you're making the top heel of the company, the man of the company, the man of the locker room, you're making him laugh. You're making the guy that's supposed to not like you laugh on the slick. Yeah, Jay, you too. You even making Solo laugh, bro. Like Solo trying to hold it in and be serious, and he's laughing. Mission accomplished. So for that, congrats to you, Sami Zayn.
All right, next up, we have the biggest WTF moment of the year. And this is quite the nominees. So the nominees for biggest WTF moment of the year: Brock Lesnar flipping over the ring at SummerSlam. Naomi and Sonya Deville's entire feud. What was the end game? What was the point? Cody Rhodes working Hell in a Cell injured with the purple tick because he had torn his pec off the bone. Both 2022 Royal Rumble matches this year. What was the point? Why was this a thing? CM Punk's meltdown at the medium scrum following AEW All Out, or as some people call Brawl Out. Ace Steel reportedly biting Kenny Omega. Was the man hungry? Did he not have a Snickers before they had their little face-to-face? The world may never know. Sammy Guevara in general. The backstage altercations, doing whatever on TV. Just Sammy Guevara in general. The Miz versus Dexter Lumis' entire feud. What was the point of this? Like, the end game didn't really feel natural. It just felt like, oh shit, we got to come up with something. Vince McMahon retiring from WWE. Christian talks about Jack Perry, or Jungle Boy's dad, his dead dad, by the way, and going savage with his mom, saying, I'm a bang your mom. I'm like, all right. And last but not least, Jeff Hardy's DUI again, because it was on film and it was a pretty big, okay, what the fuck. So this time I have to pick, and the winner is, all these are good categories, and I'm gonna have to go with Vince McMahon retiring from WWE. I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought that man was gonna die behind that chair. I legit thought, I'm like, are you like, when I saw that man put out a tweet saying, I at the age of 77 or however old he's lying about, because I swear that man is older than 77. But he basically said, I am retiring effective immediately from WWE. Triple H is in charge of creative. He didn't say all that, but Triple H is in charge of creative. Stephanie McMahon is co-CEO with Nick Khan. Now she's the chairwoman. I thought that man was going to retire behind that chair. I thought he was going to just do that. But the honorable mention for this would be Cody Rhodes working Hell in a Cell injured. That man literally worked an entire 20+ minute match with one arm.
Comedy gold. That was meme worthy for you, like, most of this year, my friend.
Like, bro, your whole tit was Barney color.
I mean, it was yeah. No worse you could do to it, and yet it was like for that moment.
because apparently
He
on
was
Reddit,
over.
a doctor said if it's completely torn out the bone, there's nothing else. He can literally do whatever he wants with it because there's nothing else. It's no more damage that can be done to it because it was literally off the bone. So
That man
that man is crazy. That man is
wrestling with burns on his back, going to flaming tables, wrestling with
remember,
Tom
I think I put a tweet. I was like, "Why did you do this, man?" And he actually responded. He was like, it was just the love of the game or something like that. And I'm like, if he put a long response, somebody put it on there. Because I wasn't expecting that, man. Because I didn't act the man. I literally just said, "I'm like, hey, bro, what you do this for?" Like that's all I could say. Like, what you do this for? And I guess he vanity searched himself because I don't know how you saw it and decided to respond because I'm not following you. You're not following me. You just literally just responded. I'm like, huh, all right. But yeah, man, that was crazy.
Point taken.
This next one don't really have nominees because it was so many moments. But breakout moment of the year. So what we're going to do with this one, we're both going to look back at this year and ponder on in the next 30 seconds, well, what you feel like was the breakout moment for someone who's not been pushed, who's not really been like, they didn't have, the company themselves did not have the full attention of them they didn't have the full spotlight. Who do you feel was like, who had a breakout moment this year?
So I am going to give this award right off the top. Just because this person was the first person I thought of in that moment. And I do remember going back to that moment, how I felt personally for this person when they got to that level and was like, wow, they did it. Fans had wanted this person to do this for so long, and they finally had that moment. So I'm going to give this moment of the year to Liv Morgan winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. Given the people she was in the ring with, no one expected that. She, with all the women you would have named, it was very resemblant of Trish Stratus winning the women's championship at the 2001 Survivor Series when they had that, I think it was like a 6-7-pack women's kind of thing where they just had women go at it and whoever won was the champ. And Trish was one of the last people you expected to win that. And when she did, it was like her moment of, okay, you're arriving. Like they're starting to believe and push you. So I'm giving that to Liv. And then, the bigger surprise is just the fact that she even then goes on to win it at the end at the same time. So really accomplishing two things at once really signified and solidified that Liv has put in that work. She's improved a lot from when she started, to those who remember her, those NXT days. And,
when she was Jersey as hell.
Jersey is all get out. You know what I mean? When you look at that Liv and you look at the Liv you see now, you can't help but give her props for what she has done this year. So let's see if momentum carries itself going into next year or the years prior. But in this moment, congratulations to you, Liv Morgan.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And as far as who I give this breakout moment of the year, I have 30 seconds to come up with this. For my breakout moment, it had to be Wardlow. I had to give it to Wardlow. I had to give it to Wardlow. Wardlow finally turning on. It was a slow build. It was, I guess you can call it the Batista-esque build of him breaking free of MJF. MJF's Triple H, basically. MJF was Triple H and Wardlow was basically Batista. He was breaking free. The crowd was getting behind him. They had the whole 9 where he had to jump through hoops, and he finally had his moment at that. I believe it was, what was that, Double or Nothing this year?
Double or Nothing, yeah.
Where he squashed, literally, he squashed the hell out of MJF. So, and it was his moment. So I had to, even though the follow up wasn't the best at all, that was his moment. It basically made you feel like, okay, Wardlow has arrived. So I had to give my breakout moment for 2022 would be Wardlow finally freeing himself from MJF.
That's a good one. I like that. I like that moment a lot.
All right, now let's look at extreme hardcore moment of 2022. The nominees are, we have 3. The nominees are Darby Allin's standing senton bomb on Jeff Hardy from the ring on top of a ladder to the outside into standing steel chairs. Samoa Joe's muscle buster on Darby on the wheels of a skateboard. So that man hit a whole muscle buster on this man. You cannot pay me to take that bump at all. That looked like the silent cry that I will be still letting out to this day from feeling that. Cause you know how you got that cry, but then you got that cry where you can't even make noise anymore. That'd be me. Cause I'll be like, yeah, I'll just be screaming.
Oh yeah.
And then like
like it's gonna be on your but gonna be on that you're gonna be on that Blank Man, boy.
My back.
There it is.
And then the final nominee is Jeff Hardy's swanton off the ledge through the table. And then I actually have one more that literally just popped up to me. I believe Liv Morgan's little senton through the table on SmackDown.
Lacey Evans, yeah.
Was it Lacey Evans or Sonya Deville? Was it Lacey Evans?
Lacey Evans. She did one to Lacey Evans, yeah.
Okay.
I
had to throw that one on there because Liv has been having one hell of a year. I had to give her that props. And also throw one last one. Becky Lynch's leg drop from on top of War Games. Those are our nominees. And this one is up for you to decide. So highlight the floor is yours.
Ooh, so this one's a very interesting, edgy kind of situation here, for sure. You gotta love the extreme of everything. And if I had to choose any of these right now as a winner, I am gonna give this one to none other than one of the kings of the extreme, if you will, and the OG member of Team Extreme. I'm going to give this one to Jeff Hardy in AEW in that street fight, I believe it was. Falls Count Anywhere. Give it up for Jeff Hardy, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Classic extreme moment from one of the OGs of the extreme world. That was a very retro-esque Jeff Hardy moment to do something that we haven't seen him do in a while, actually. So to say, you know what? Yeah, this isn't high enough for me. Let me climb back up to something even higher and just completely drop. It just adds to the classic highlight reel of Jeff Hardy extreme moments. So I'm going to give that one to you, Sir Hardy.
Yes, sir. So Jeff Hardy wins the extreme hardcore match or moment, of the But speaking of match, we might as well go ahead and switch it over to match of the year for 2022. The nominees is a stacked list, but we have the nominees. The nominees are in. The nominees are Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania Night 1. Bianca Belair versus Bayley in the last woman standing match for the Raw Women's Championship at WWE Crown Jewel 2022. I'm about to pivot a little bit. Carmelo Hayes versus Ricochet at NXT Worlds Collide 2022. The men's War Games match at Survivor Series 2022. MJF versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship at Full Gear. The Elite versus Death Triangle in a trios match for the AEW Trios World Championship at Full Gear 2022. The ROH four-way match. It was Chris Jericho defending against Claudio Castagnoli versus Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson at Full Gear. Then we have Street Profits versus the Usos at Money in the Bank for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Then we have Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed for the AEW World Tag Team Championships at AEW All Out. Sheamus versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship at Clash at the Castle 2022. Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre for the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship at Clash at the Castle 2022. Seth Rollins versus the injured Cody Rhodes inside Hell in a Cell at Hell in a Cell 2022. And Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the AEW interim at the time now undisputed Women's World Championship at AEW Full Gear. The floor is mine. And this is quite the list that I have to pick from.
But I didn't have to pick this one.
from an emotional standpoint, from an investment standpoint, since I have to pick one match, we're going to give this category honorable mention, basically second place. I'm going to have to give this, so many hitters. I'm going to have to give this one to the Street Profits versus the Usos at Money in the Bank.
Ooh, okay.
The reason why, because the way the crowd was crazy that night. The Usos have not missed at all in 2022. Not one match that have looked away during their matches, and it wasn't just a breakout moment for the Street Profits. Angelo Dawkins, he been seeing everybody's tweets talking about Montez is going to be the one that leave him behind, and he like, now hold on, bro, let me show you something right quick. Man went crazy. I have to get that, but my honorable mention, since I could not choose this one, would be Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania.
Ooh, okay.
That is my honorable mention.
Second that.
And since I had to pick one, I'm gonna give you an honorable mention. Who do you feel like should be an honorable mention that needs that respect, even though they didn't win, but they get that respect?
I am going to give that honorable mention to Since you mentioned it in your honorable mention, I'm gonna go ahead and give my honorable mention to Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash of the Castle, because it was historic in terms of the fact that WWE has not had a major PLE in the UK in forever. So how hungry the crowd was, the UK crowd, it was not American, so it was different. It was more explosive.
They weren't trying to get themselves over.
They weren't trying to get themselves over. You had two guys who it was a dream match for real, because that was one of the ones that people wanted to see for the longest, and we got it, in a fashion that we expected. Hard hitting, chest slapping, you name it, straight up stiff, all kind of things, and so it sold itself and told its own story. But I do like your honorable mention as well, because that's what I also was going to almost give to, because of that year-long storytelling.
Right.
Behind it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's solid list, but I like the winner. I'm not mad at the winner. Definitely that was such a banger. Shout out to the Usos, and shout out to the Street Profits too, man. I mean, they've been one of those underrated bangers, because they've been putting on a lot of bangers lately this year. So keep doing what you're doing, fellas.
All right, next up, we have the biggest surprise of 2022. We have the nominees for this category is Ronda Rousey returns at the Royal Rumble to eventually win the Women's Royal Rumble match. Bayley returning from injury after over a year at SummerSlam. Jon Moxley squashing CM Punk for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship on Dynamite this past summer. Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux's return on SmackDown this summer or fall, whenever it was, like September. Johnny Gargano's return to WWE, where they just played his music out of nowhere and just popped everybody. And Sasha Banks and Naomi walks out on WWE. Highlight, the floor is yours.
Whew, man, oh man. This is a very tough list. You know what? If I'm going to choose any of these, I'm going to give the winner of this one to Sasha Banks and Naomi's walkout in WWE. Reason being is just the fact that was very unexpected, y'all. It was one of those things, and then you thought, given that now we still have not seen either one of them back in the company since that walkout, at that time you thought, like, okay, maybe this is a storyline kind of thing. They'll be back within a few weeks or a month or two, but month after month after month after month has passed by. We've heard about it, where like there's talks that they may be back, this and that. Triple H takes over, still nothing. They're still out there living their best lives, and it looks like they may miss it, but they're not really missing it at the same time because they're living their lives. So, like, meanwhile, since that moment happened, it was definitely dominated pretty heavily in the conversation side of things. Podcasts all over gave their thoughts and views on it. And I have to give it that moment because we still to this day have not seen them back in the company since that walkout. But my honorable mention from that would probably go towards CM Punk and Jon Moxley. Because
that threw everybody off.
Yeah, that was a match people were looking forward to, like for real. You built it up like a big deal. And then all of a sudden it just, in a blink of an eye, it was over. And you're like,
what?
and you should have known something was up because I just remembered that match wasn't even the main event. And that's the sad part. It wasn't even the main event. So we knew, like, wait a minute, why is this match going on now? So we should have known something was fishy. Because we're like, wait, what? This isn't the main event? We thought this was the main event. You built it like it was the main event. And then all of a sudden it's over in a matter of seconds. And we're like, what the freak? Nobody even remembers the rest of that show after that. You were too busy talking about that. So yeah, that's my good honorable mention on that one. Do you have an honorable mention out of these categories that even if they didn't win, Gresh?
Johnny Gargano returned to WWE. That literally, I was watching it and they went to commercial break, came back. Rebel Heart, the good version, not the crappy version they got now, but the good version played, and you like, hold on, who this? And then he walked out. You're like, oh, because wasn't no dirt sheet, wasn't no announcement. It literally, they just played the music and go out there, and the crowd didn't act like they didn't know who he was. They knew exactly who he was. They was shocked like we all were. They was like, what? Johnny Gargano returned. That threw me off. That threw me for a loop. Karrion Kross's return kind of made me laugh because he had that hairstyle that looked like an angry car salesman. So I was mainly laughing at his hair than anything else. But other than that, Johnny.
Oh, not the angry car salesman.
So,
okay.
But yeah, Johnny Gargano returned. That's my honorable mention for that one. Speaking of returns, we might as well go right back to the breakouts moment. So, because you can't have really breakout moments without breakout stars. So now we're going to go with the next two categories, which is breakout stars for the male and the female. I will choose the female. You will choose the male. Let's start with the female category. For the breakout star for the female, the ladies, the nominees are Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Mandy Rose, Julia Hart of House of Black, Liv Morgan, Tasha Steelz, Rhea Ripley, and Jamie Hayter. Now, the winner for this is tough because there's a lot of them. Like, I watch NXT when I can, and even though it's not perfect, it has its moments, and a lot of these women, they've been standing out. But if I was watching Impact a lot more, I will probably give this to Tasha. But seeing as I don't really watch Impact like I probably should, I'm going off of who I watch. And the breakout moment for me, the breakout star for me is none other than Jamie Hayter. Because it culminated in her winning the AEW Women's World Champion. The honorable mention will have to go to another champion, that being the NXT Women's Champion, because as much as a lot of people give her flack and as much as a lot of her matches weren't as memorable during her year-long title reign, I cannot discredit the fact that she has evolved from the blonde that slipped at WrestleMania that one year. So we're not going to talk about that no more, but she basically elevated Gigi Dolan and JC Jane in Toxic Attraction. I got to give her flowers because she has improved. So my honorable mention would be Mandy Rose. Who will be your honorable mention?
Okay. My honorable mention out of the ladies. I think I'm going to give my honorable mention to Cora Jade on this one.
Okay.
Most in part because of the fact that since turning heel, despite how we might have felt in the way it was done,
Mm-hmm.
she has really embraced this heel persona. She went from being what you thought was just a natural baby face, a little bit on it. She's one of those where she shows she can be a baby face if need be, but she really excels at being a heel right now. Like this is her pocket, and it's very Sasha Banks esque. When you look at early Sasha when she was starting out, she was that same kind of thing. She was that goody two shoes kind of baby face, and once she really got in her bag and got that character going, she turned into the ultimate heel, which then kind of naturally turned it into that baby face like persona. So for Cora, I think that's the same case with her. It'll just transition uh, to when she gets even bigger and better. Still a lot more improvement to do, of course. The sky is the limit for her, but she is definitely showing that she's blossoming a lot faster than anticipated.
Next up for the men's side, the male breakout star of the year, the nominees are Ricky Starks, Absolute, Powerhouse Hobbs, Carmelo Hayes, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Madcap Moss, Wardlow, Hook, and Solo Sikoa. Who do you pick, Mr. Highlight?
Oh my goodness, this is tough. This is really, really tough. Like beyond tough for me right now. But if I so had to choose, I am going to easily go off this list, and I am going to choose none other than Solo Sikoa as the breakout star of this year. Reason being is quite simple. It was a given from the jump. The moment we saw this man walk through the curtain, we knew, oh, he is legit. Like, not only does he look like his brothers, but we already know what's up when we see this man get in the ring. We know you the truth. And he proved it. He did it his way. He went through the developmental. He shined. And much like any member of the family, paid his dues. And then, boom, next thing you know, he breaks out in another format. Shows right up to help out the family. Right. Even though we knew he didn't want it, we knew he didn't want to do it that way, but you couldn't pass that up, man. When the family's on fire and you're part of the family, you got to join it, man. So he very much can make another category of this in the event that if the when the Bloodline faction officially disbands, he can take off on his own in another year, but we got like some years from now before that happens. So right now, in this moment, given his transition from NXT superstar to full-on Bloodline superstar, yeah, giving this one to Solo. He's been protected, and he's been doing his thing as an enforcer of the Bloodline.
Sweet. Honorable mentions?
Ooh, my honorable mention on that one definitely goes to none other than Carmelo Hayes, man. I mean, this guy's what hasn't he done all year that you haven't loved? A whole total package. You know, he's got the charisma, the mic skills. He's dripping. You know what I'm saying? With the look, you know what I mean. And in the ring, there's nothing he can't do. You know, so you know, you could throw Trick in there as a 1B with him. You know, since they're a package deal. Right. You know, but. Yeah, I got to give that honorable mention to Carmelo. How about you, brother?
Oh, my honorable mention, we got the same honorable mention. It's Carmelo Hayes. So that man has been killing in NXT. His match with Ricochet, his match with Axiom, that's going to happen soon. He's going to be he was in this Iron Survivor match. I already know without a doubt he showed up and showed out. So, man, the sky's the limit. I'm just ready for that LeBron Breaker match versus him. So we can finally get that man either win the title or like let him. If someone takes that title off of Braun Breaker, it should be Carmelo.
I agree.
Let him run with it for a little bit and then put him on the main roster. Don't rush him to the main roster. Like, take your time. That man is a diamond in the rough. You do not want to rush greatness. Take your time.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, that's a perfect thing to do because it's either you have him lose to Braun Breaker and he goes to main roster, or you have Braun Breaker lose to him and then Braun goes to main roster. He runs for a bit, and then whoever you want to be Carmelo that's ready enough, and then boom, give him his send off. So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
All right, next up we have best mic game. So this superstar has basically spent this entire year just killing it on the mic, no slip ups, any dialogue, whether it's predetermined or rewritten for them, or basically off the cuff. They've been killing it ever since. And the nominees for best mic game of 2022 are MJF, CM Punk, Eddie Kingston, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Cowboy Brock, Absolute Ricky Starks, Seth freaking Rollins, and before he got injured, Randy Orton. So for me, since I have to pick this one, I'm gonna have to go with the most memorable promos from this year. I have to give it to MJF. The kid has been killing it. I can't lie to you. The kid has been killing it. Like, he got schooled up by Ricky. I almost gave it to Ricky on that last promo they had out, but I can't discount the fact that this entire year that he's had on the mic, every time he talked on that microphone, you paid attention. The "you fucking Mark" thing came from that man because when he went in on Tony Khan. So that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. That man, the sky's the limit for him too. It's so many people in this industry that is like, yo, the sky is the limit. All they gotta do is keep their head down, stick to the grind. Don't be creepy, don't be weird, and just go off. He's one of them. Just go off. Don't be weird. Don't mess around. Don't mess around with people that you ain't got no business messing around with, and just do your thing. That's it. Mm-hmm. My honorable mention is Roman Reigns because that man has had some little hidden gems throughout this year as well. But overall, I have to go with MJF. Who you feel got that honorable mention on your side?
Honestly, dude, I am right on par with you for that one. I am gonna basically just sit there and say that at the end of the day, Roman has been in his bag, and so has MJF. It's ironic. It's been the top two pillars of their companies, if you'd say so. I mean, I'd say MJF is pretty much that top pillar now, being the champ and everything, and the company is going to run through him for at least the next 2 years. So, hey, man, you know, it's 1A, 1B here. MJF got it. He took the crown, but Roman is right there behind. So
right there behind you.
Probably the head of the table. Hopefully the head of the table does not see this because he may say otherwise. But, you know, Tribal Chief, you know, don't worry. You know, no offense. You know, you still, you know, you got the honorable mention. I know that's not good enough for the family. So don't disband us. But still, you know, we're giving that to MJF. Yeah.
Speaking of best mic game, we might as well just talk about and give props to people who gave us some nice mic drop moments, because that's the next category for mic drop moments of 2022. There's a lot of nominees on this one, but we had to narrow it down. The nominees are Maxi Pad versus the Pebble, that Ricky Starks and MJF promo from Dynamite from December 7, 2022 to build up to their Winter is Coming match. Hell of a promo. Gave Ricky Starks his shining moment. I'm tired of being humble, where Roman Reigns to Logan Paul, where it was a final build before Crown Jewel, where people, because everybody was building up, can Logan Paul land the lucky punch? But Roman was like, but what about if I can knock him out? And he said, I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance. So I'm like, and his delivery, we'll talk about the delivery in just a second. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Roman Reigns, the next category is I'll never forgive you for what you did to us when he had a face-off with Seth Rollins before the Royal Rumble this year. The next one is I Am a Man, where Hangman snapped in the ring, where he says the depression The pills aren't working. I can't really do the promo justice, but if you watch this promo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is on this list. Your daddy's not here anymore. Where Roman Reigns was talking trash to Austin Theory. This was fresh off of Vince McMahon retiring from the WWE, so Austin Theory was left out high and dry. Bobby Who, where Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, where they reunited, where Brock Lesnar gave us a knock joke on live television. Knock, who's there? Bobby Who? Exactly. Hilarious. You're a bad father. That was Finn Balor to Rey Mysterio. It's always been personal. Roman Reigns final hype before WrestleMania, his winner take all match against Brock Lesnar. That's not cowboy shit. That's coward shit. CM Punk to Hangman Adam Page. Let's talk about your family. Seth Rollins going in on Matt Riddle. I picked this category, and you have the floor, Mr. Hi-Lite.
All right. So I think this is only fair, given that, this might please the this might get us back in the good graces of the bloodline here in the family. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that Roman's, your daddy's not here anymore. I'm your daddy now. You know what I'm saying? You need a wise councilman. I'll be that guy for you. I got you. Tribal chief, I told you. We got you, man. We got you. We right here. You know what I mean? We right here. So don't worry. You got that one. You in the ones. You feel me? And I'm sure you're gonna get many, many more because you're head of the table. We got you. So yeah, I got to do that just because the moment, the reaction of the crowd in that moment of saying that. The moment of the moment, coming straight off of, like you said, Vince's retirement, and the "Who's Your Daddy" chants that continue to reign upon Theory from, I believe, even to this day, from time to time. So
he needed special counsel for cashing in that Money in the Bank and losing.
Yep, pretty much. Honorable WTF mention. But nonetheless, y'all.
Honorable Goofy mention.
I'm gonna give that to Roman. So Roman, you get yourself a trophy, my friend. To add to the gold of the bloodline. Add to the gold of the bloodline. I'm giving that award to Mr. Roman Reigns. Yeah. Honorable mention on this one. I'm probably going to give the honorable mention to Brock Lesnar just because of the fact that was in Philadelphia. It made Paul Heyman, of all people, say, Brock Lesnar just made a knock joke on national television in Philadelphia. Point blank. Cowboy Brock's just been naturally hilarious. So
should have been this Brock from the get-go, but I digress.
Exactly. How about you? Who's any honorable mentions on this one?
My honorable mention will probably have to be the Ricky Starks and MJF promo because that was brilliantly done. MJF didn't say a word. He let Ricky have his moment. He let him get the bars off. And it ended with Ricky hitting a massive spear that made you like, whoa. It made you literally for a split moment believe that he was winning the World Heavyweight Championship. That's how good it was. So and it's like they built that entire match in 1 week. They didn't need months of build. They just built it in 1 week. It's pros and cons. Some people feel like world title matches need to be months built for that final payoff. But this one was kind of the case of, okay, we know that they're probably not going to drop the title from MJF this quick. So let Ricky have his moment to let people know, like, hey, this is me. I held my own. I may not be the biggest, but I'm the smartest and I'm the fastest. Let's get it. All right, now it's time for us to determine the male superstar and female superstar / wrestler of the year. Like, going to switch it up like last time. This time, Hi-Lite will handle the ladies, and I will handle the men. We're going to start off with the male superstar of the year. The nominees are Roman Reigns, John Moxley, Seth freaking Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Hangman Adam Page, Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Gunther, and Sheamus. I'm going to have to go with from a story standpoint, from a investment standpoint, I'm going to have to go with the head of the table, Roman Reigns, as the male superstar of the year. The man has been killing it nonstop. He's going on a 2-year reign as Universal Champion, World Heavyweight Champion. However, he's the top dog for the past 2 years since 2020, SummerSlam 2020. We've been on a ride with this man. Got to give him his props. He is the male superstar of the year, and my honorable mention will be none other than Sheamus, because that man has been killing it in ring wise. He's been killing it ever since, I think, all year. Like every match he's had, the match with Gunther, him taking part in War Games. So many flowers I can give that man, or I could just do it like he says, banger after banger after banger after banger. So the male superstar of the year for this year is none other than the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns, with the honorable mention being Sheamus. Who is your honorable mention?
Great list, great category. I'm going to give my honorable mention on this one to none other than John Moxley. This man literally has had the company on his back pretty much the entirety of this year. The man was supposed to be on a whole vacation, and literally under certain circumstances, because of behind the scenes drama and things like that, this man had to say, well, I'm putting my vacation aside and I am going to be that guy until somebody comes and takes this from me. Right. So, and even then still doing it right now. So, yeah, John Moxley, sir, you are my honorable mention. Unfortunately, you didn't win because of your former brethren and counterparts, who was a 2-time now winner of the night. See, I told you, we're going to get in the good graces of the bloodline. So if you're watching this bloodline, just know we got a couple more categories to go.
We got a whole nother podcast.
If you count Solo, that's 3 brought home to the bloodline. 4 if you count Sammy. So the bloodline's actually been winning a lot so far. I'm just saying. So don't take us out because you didn't win the mic drop. I'm just saying.
Next up, we have the female superstar of the year. The nominees are Bianca Belair, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Jade Cargill, Mandy Rose, Jamie Hayter, Toni Storm, Kyrie, Tasha Steelz, Mickie James, Deonna Purrazzo, and Jordan Grace. Highlight, the floor is yours.
Okay, so in this category, this is a very, very tough one in its own right sometimes, because, all of these ladies, first and foremost, in their own way, have done a wonderful job at what they do. They're professionals. They do this, and they've been showing why they are the name that they are. Nonetheless, the winner of this, in my view, for this year, goes to none other than the EST of the WWE, Miss Bianca Belair. You, ma'am, are the woman superstar of the year.
Any honorable mentions?
You know what? I will throw in, since we're getting a lot of awards, WWE and AEW, I'll throw in Jordan Grace as a honorable mention, because again, whether you watch Impact, whether you don't, I'm on and off with it. But from the times I've seen and some of the highlights I've seen, Jordan Grace has just been putting on crazy bangers, being a champion, fighting any and everyone. So, like, most definitely. And I believe Mickie James is working her way towards trying to compete for one more shot before she ultimately retires. Like, if she's on this thing where if she's starting from the very bottom to work her way to the top. So she's been wrestling every woman from the bottom of the barrel all the way up to the top. And if she lost any of them matches, that was it. Calling it quits. So inevitably, I do believe that builds up for a eventual feud with Jordan Grace, who is the current champion in Impact. So probably won't come off this year. That story is going to continue going into next year. We'll see if Mickie James takes over the reins and has her superstar of the year kind of run next year, or if Jordan Grace continues to do her thing. So she's my honorable mention. How about you, Lewis?
For my honorable mention, it will have to be none other than Bayley. And the reason why, even though she hasn't been winning since she returned, she's been killing it in that ring. I have to give her props. She's been, like, a lot of people complain, like, oh, she hasn't won against Bianca, this, that, there, but you remember the matches. You remember the bangers they've had. That's the thing. It's more in life than winning. Like, I would love for her to win. I would love for all of them to win. But it's just the way it is. Instead of harvesting and harboring over the loss, just give her flowers for the fact that she's been killing it since returning from her knee injury that probably should have ended her career. So my honorable mention is none other than the role model herself, the leader of Damage Control, Miss Bayley Martinez.
I love it.
Now, before we get to our final category that we pick, because next up you guys will pick, or the second to last, it will be where we take the time to peel back the curtain and give our props to those who have lost their lives this year, if they've had an impact, whether they've had an impact on the industry, whether they were fans of the industry, whatever the case may be, that made people feel some type of way, whether it was nonsensical or not, but we're going to give them their flowers because that is the moment where we have our real life legendary moment or real life legend of the year. The previous recipients were none other than the late great Shad Gaspard in 2020, who lost his life when he chose to save his son over himself when he drowned, as well as the late great Brody Lee, John Huber, who lost his life to a lung disease, infection. So for this year, we're going to give two more awards, and that the first one will be none other than the late rapper fan himself, Takeoff from the Migos. He lost his life in Houston earlier this year. He was a massive wrestling fan alongside his uncle Quavo, and the impact that he had here in Atlanta from an industry standpoint was felt. A lot of people didn't listen to his music, and that's okay. But the ones who did felt his impact, him a part of the Migos. The Migo flow that a lot of people say was created, it was created by him. And I could stand on that. So got to give him his flowers. Rest in peace, Takeoff. And for the final recipient of the real life legend moment or the legend award is none other than the late great Scott Hall, who lost his life earlier this year. The impact that man had over the entire industry is unmatched. That man literally he helped change the game. NWO, the Outsiders, the Clique, whatever you want to call it. Like he was a worker. He was a worker. If you want to go technical for the wrestling insiders, he was a worker. He was a legend. He was one of the best to never win the world championship. So those are our two recipients for this year. None other than the late Takeoff and the late great Scott Hall.
Love it. I'll say in terms of Scott Hall, man, definitely I remember just hearing about that death, and definitely it was very impactful listening to a lot of people's stories about Scott from every generation. People who were part of that era with Scott, very close friends from the clique, or whether it was just people who worked with him behind the scenes as he was like giving them advice on how to improve and just different things like that. Not to mention his actual journey and the things he battled and how much of an inspiration he was to people because of what he overcame. Which is why, when you think about a Jeff Hardy, as we mentioned in the WTF moment, for example, at some point, you look at Scott Hall, even with what Jeff Hardy goes through, it's never too late, right? It's never too late for anyone to truly, truly, you got to fall multiple times before you truly do understand, like, yeah, I'm not perfect, but I finally got it,
Right.
and you know what I'm saying? So just to see what Scott had done, who he's impacted, how much he was very well loved and cared for, it just goes to show that he is highly missed and highly deserving of this award for sure. And as is Takeoff, again, the Migos left one heck of a music culture, impact on the music culture. And a lot of that we find out is pioneered by Takeoff, in terms of bringing that off. But then also just, again, things like Ric Flair drip. I mean, look at how you hear that any and everywhere. And what
Video
it's done
games
not
everywhere.
only with Ric Flair, video games, Ric Flair himself, the Flair family in general. I mean, just literally earlier this year, day one, we saw the Migos pull up. You know what I'm saying? Right there on the stage. You know what I mean? So I mean, hanging out with Matt Riddle, you know what I mean, and Randy Orton. While still being cool with the Street Profits too. You know what I mean? So I mean, it just all shows that at the end of the day, music and wrestling go hand in hand together, and it is so great when they're impacted together. So for that, I just want to say, you're highly missed for sure and respected, and you guys both are legendary nominees and candidates of this award. And as we continue to go further, you guys are in our personal Hall of Fame for sure of this. So rest in peace to the lates and the greats.
I know you said shout out to the late and greats, but I know we said we're going to do 2, but this year we're going to have to do 3, and that is because we're the next inductee into the real life legendary legend moment, aka Unleashed Legend, is none other than Steven Twitch Boss. For those of you who don't know who Twitch is or was, he was a runner-up in the 2008 season of So You Think You Can Dance. That's how he got his break. And he was recently the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show. For those of you who don't know, he 2 days ago, he committed suicide. This was out of nowhere. His wife, Allison, him and his wife, Allison, were pretty much the dynamic duo of a couple because they showed so much light to everyone that they were around. I never had the pleasure of meeting them. I know a lot of people who had. And if as a dancer, if you know who Twitch is, you had quite the role model because that was someone that a lot of people inspired to be. And because whether it's like being an influencer, a dancer, a DJ, basically a human being. And honestly, I was on the plane to come back to Atlanta when I saw the news, and all I could say was fuck, 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 because it's like he was one of those guys that I looked up to right next to my brother who died in 2015. He was also a dancer, so it was like that hit hard. That hit hard because I was just on the plane. I had to put headphones in and just black out as far as like go to sleep because it was like that hit a toll because I'm like, I understand people want peace because you don't know what is going on in people's heads. Like they can appear smiling on the surface, but they're suffering. And all I can think for and wish that he finally has that peace that he was looking for. He has that that he finally has. He's hopefully he's in the good place now, because that loss was hard and is hard, because he came off as a good person, and it's always the good ones that suffer the most, in my opinion. It's like, because I as someone who survived the suicide attempt a few years ago, that hit hard as well, and being as Swella herself is a survivor of suicide. That is a tough pill when the good ones succumb to it. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna let you give your thoughts as well. But if you are suffering, if you're going through, you are loved, you are needed, you're not alone. If someone comes off as busy, there's someone else that can reach out to you. Just let us in. We love you. We appreciate you. And you have any thoughts, Hi-Lite?
Yeah, man. Take care of that mental more than anything, man. Mental health is always a number one priority in anything you do. As a content creator, as a pro wrestler, as a artist, as a whatever it is that you are passionate about that you do. Um, we're all human, and we're all going to go through those times of depression or anxiety, or all these things that cause us to get to these points of wanting to commit suicide just to escape that mental pain and try to be somewhere in a much more peaceful sense. So, man, look, like Gresh said, I second that. We love you. We're here for you. Uh, Call. There's a lot of hotlines that are 24/7 that are always available if you need them. Do not be afraid to call those lines and reach out and vent. Get with your local therapist if you need it, to help out. It's very important in some kind of ways to just exercise the mind. And I also want to just, throw out an extra RIP to the most iconic Power Ranger of them all, and Jason David Frank, man. Same case, same case, man. It's definitely something that's getting more and more out of control by the day. But when you find out it's the ones that you know, admire or grew up watching or really respect for what they do, to find out that they're really hurting deep down inside, as Gresh mentioned, it's such a hard pill to swallow and take in and accept. So, yeah, man, nothing but love, positive vibes, and great prayers and energy sent to everyone who sees this, going through it, who is not alone, and everybody out there, no matter what level, platform, we all go through it. Straight love.
Well said. And with that, we're going to have a brief moment of silence for those we've lost this year, so that we can finally pay our respects. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the end of the year awards where you, the viewer, get to choose your select from this select list of categories. We gave you a list that you can vote over at www.greshandunleashed.com, and you guys have had until midnight on Tuesday to vote, and you did. We had a good amount of responses, a good amount of participation for you guys, and as we continue to do these end of the year awards, we hope you guys get in the habit of voting when we do it. You can be more interactive with us. That's what I'm pretty much trying to say. I don't want you guys to feel like it was just us talking to each other. We want you, that part with your hard-earned money, if you're a part of Patreon or whatever the case may be, we want you guys to be involved in this scenario. But this particular poll was open to the entire public. It was something that we plugged all week, and you guys literally voted, and we appreciate you. So we're going to start off with the tag team of the year, which was a viewer's choice. We had you think I should run down the list of categories, or should we just
I would. Just for the heck of it. It's
just for the heck of it.
You know what I mean?
It was quite the list because this year we had quite it was an awesome amount of tag teams that had showcased, whether it's in AEW, WWE, NXT, Impact Wrestling, DPW, so many tag teams that you guys, but the nominees that we created, and you also had the option to insert your own selection as well. The nominees were the Usos, the Young Bucks, FTR, Swerve in Our Glory, the Acclaimed, the Street Profits, Alpha Academy, Imperium, the Creed Brothers, Pretty Deadly, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, the Lucha Brothers, and you also get to choose your own if you wanted to put it in there. Quite the list.
That's a heavy list.
But 31 people answered. Only 2 people skipped because a lot of people didn't participate in the actual poll. But the winner of Tag Team of the Year for this year is the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos, with 11 votes for you guys.
Woo! We the ones. Another one for the bloodline. Another one for the bloodline. Well, it's going to be a party in the tribal island tonight, baby. Island of relevancy.
So to keep it with the tag teams, we're going to actually go with Faction of the Year. That is next up. That's Faction of the Year. 32 people voted. Only 1 skipped. The nominees for this Faction of the Year categories are the Bloodline, the Elite, the Undisputed Elite. Remember them? That were a thing at one point. The Blackpool Combat Club, Death Triangle, Jericho Appreciation Society, the Best Friends, Hit Row, the House of Black, Imperium, Jade Cargill's Baddies, Legado del Fantasma, the Brawling Brutes, Damage Control, Toxic Attraction, Diamond Mind, Chase U, the Schism, and you also had the option to insert your choice. Now the nominees for, we're not going to do a drum roll. The winner for this year's Faction of the Year is none other than the Bloodline. We do the proper version. One small step for man is one giant leap for me. And who I be headline franchise.
You thought it was over?
Nah. Now make way for your residential tribal chief.
Let's go.
Highlight.
I love it, man. I love it. Congrats to the Bloodline, man. You took all the gold except for one, but still, you took all the gold.
All right, next up we have, for those of you who don't really understand the podcasting game or social media in general, we have a category where it's best Twitter game of the year. So many people we interacted with, and you also had the option to interact. And I particularly kept this to wrestling category because so many people with some good Twitter games out here. Whether you're into sports, NBA, or whether you're into movies, you have some people that will just make you laugh. So the nominees for this year's best Twitter game are as follows: Nyla Rose, the Public Enemies Podcast, Cam, aka Seahawk, Lovely Laveau, Ruthless Lala, Taryn, Skinny Mysterios. This dude's name is General Booty for some reason, but Big Hero Chris. And you can also submit your own. And the winner is none other than the Public Enemies Podcast. Shout out to you guys. Love what you guys do out there. You guys are hilarious because I'm pretty sure if you've ever been on social media, you understand that these guys literally they come up with some of the most chaotic concepts of comedy. They'll bring up some old clips to make their point. Whether you're watching Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, if they cover it, they talk about it. They make the jokes. They get the jokes off. They honestly reformatted how I feel social media should be used as far as with comedy and wrestling. Like everything doesn't have to be taken serious because let's be real, it's wrestling. It's a scripted sport. You're watching grown people tussle for 30 plus minutes in tights and spandex. Come on now, like you got to take it. Like if you're that type of person that wants to take it 100% serious, kudos to you. But the way that the people like the Public Enemy podcast, Cam, Lovely, Taryn, Ruthless Law, it's like they just say, hey, let's just be entertaining. Let's have fun. And there's so many people that could have been nominated, but those are the people that I threw in the list, and people voted. They with the unanimous 19 votes for the Public Enemies podcast. So they got some people out there that has a back, and shout out to them because they are indeed a friend of the podcast themselves and can do nothing but wish them more success in 2023.
Mm-hmm. I'd also like to shout out my honorable mention of this here choice and shout out to my family up in the NYC, the Jobber Tears podcast.
Oh yeah,
always.
Oh, yeah. We didn't really do honorable mentions for these categories, but yeah, shout out to you for the honorable mention for Twitter game. There's so many people out there who got they bring that entertainment to the Twitter game as far as like. They like, yo, let's be real. We're just here to have fun because it's Twitter. It's not real life. It's a platform that you can grow your viewership, fan base, or whatever career path you choose. So shout out to everybody who makes Twitter entertaining, even though it's toxic as hell. But you guys are the ones that make it entertaining. Next up, we have Announce Team of the Year. The nominees are as follows. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett, Vic Joseph and Booker T, Excalibur and Taz, and Tony Schiavone. AEW has a lot of announced teams. Excalibur, Jim Ross, and Tony Schiavone. The entire AEW Rampage commentary, because I swear they switch up every blue moon that I did watch it. Jimmy Smith, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton.
Jeez, I forgot about that one.
Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves. James Darnell and John Blood and Anthony Douglas, that's DPW. And other specifics, so I believe the people who submitted the other specific was Tom Hannifan and Matt from Impact. I probably butchered the hell out of that man's last name. Tom Phillips.
Tom Phillips. Yeah.
There we go. I forgot. I don't know how to pronounce the man's last name. I'm sorry, my brother. But the winner is none other than Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Honestly, I agree with this one because they were entertaining as all hell on SmackDown at the time that Pat was there. He brought a different aura to the announce team for me because he was a fan. He wasn't really trying to get himself over. He wasn't playing a character. That man was playing himself. If he liked you, he cheered on you. He cheered for you, whether you were a heel or a good guy. Or if he didn't like you, you would know. Baron Corbin,
bum ass Corbin.
And he had a SummerSlam match and WrestleMania match that I was actually fond of because we was there for SummerSlam. And he had that killer match against Austin Theory at WrestleMania, and he had that also equally killer match against Baron Corbin. So, and he actually came out with that theme song where the choir was literally singing "Bum Ass Corbin." I'm like, oh my god, because we was there, and when I heard that, I was like, wait, what is this? And then I looked up, and I was like, where is this coming from? And then I look up, and I'm like, oh, it's a choir. It's a choir. And also, I feel like Pat McAfee reinvigorated Michael Cole's career in ring wise because that man literally was he was on autopilot for I feel like since 2016, 2017, excluding that UK tournament that when he was teamed up with Nigel McGuinness. So for for Pat to come in, and then I don't know if you've seen his episode on that Pat McAfee podcast. So
not yet. Yeah, I got to see that.
He was basically like, "Yo, he was candid with Pat. He's like, it's like you brought that passion back." He told him that he was he brought that passion back, that he was excited to announce again out of all the years that he's been and all the partners he's had, from your Taz's to your JBLs to your Jared King Lawlers. He said he was the one that brought that passion back to him. He made him a fan again. So we ain't got to worry about Pat being replaced, because soon as college game, whatever he's doing now, that kid took him away. When he come back, it'll be right back to Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Like, they will be idiotic to change that dynamic up. And kudos to Wade Barrett for stepping up, because he's been a plus on the SmackDown commentary team since he's been in there in the interim. So shout out to all the commentary teams, because I feel like commentary is one of the best parts of wrestling, because it makes you as a viewer invested. So if a commentary team sounds bored, then I'm bored.
You're gonna be bored.
Like, so
sure.
So shout out to every commentator, from the legends like Jim Ross. Like, I saw that Jeff Hardy celebrated. I think people celebrated Jeff Hardy winning the WWE Championship, and JR hit the call from Daredevil to champion, from Enigma to Icon. Every time I hear that, it gives me chills, and as well as climb the ladder, kid, make yourself famous. And it's like, when you have those gems that you can talk about 20 some years later, because that was in 2002. It's 2022, the end of the year, and we're still talking about it 20 years later. So that's why I'm like, when you're a good commentator, and Pat dancing to Shinsuke Nakamura's music every time he came out was one of the highlights of the Thunderdome era. So that's why I'm like, yo, shout out Pat McAfee, shout out Michael Cole. That's what I'm saying. So shout out to them for real, because they shout out to all commentators, and especially the category and the nominees in this category, because
for sure,
they've been killing it all year, whether it is independent or not. Speaking of independent, next up is Best Podcast of the Year. We also had 31 votes with the nominees. And this one were the Public Enemies Podcast, Deadlock Podcast, All Elite with Keeks and Friends, Life's a Botch Podcast, Something Else Podcast, and some people actually submitted. 6 people submitted their own. I'm gonna read them out right here, because even though none of them won, but I'm still gonna read it. We had nominees like the Gresh and Hi-Lite Podcast. Shout out to y'all for those who voted for this podcast. I love y'all. Off the Script. That's JD's podcast, right?
Okay.
Is that JD's
that's JD's podcast.
Well,
it sure is.
Shout out to his listeners for hopping over here, because I didn't know y'all heard me, but shout out to y'all. And I believe the last nominee that was submitted by the other was the Black Wrestling Podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Black Wrestling Podcast.
I have heard of them.
They are the home of the Something Else Podcast that is ran by Fam and Lovely LeBeau. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Black Wrestling Podcast and their community that they built, because I believe they go live the same day we do, on Thursdays. So and they have a solid following. Like, shout out to them for real. They built quite the community, and I wouldn't be against working with any of them, because us black content creators got to stick together, if I say so myself. So, but shout out, but shout out to them. But now, the winner of the Best Podcast of the Year. The winner is none other than the Deadlock Podcast. Shout out to the Deadlock Podcast, something that is held by James Darnell, John Blood, Anthony Douglas. It's been going on for around the same time as we've been going on, for a better part of 3 years, I believe. And shout out to what they've done with that podcast, because that podcast morphed into Deadlock Pro Wrestling, DPW, that you see the likes of Bojack, Calvin Tankman, all these independent wrestlers in the North Carolina area. So all that DPW wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the Deadlock Podcast. And got to give them their flowers, because they are three of the funniest individuals that I have yet to meet. More than likely, I'm going to meet them soon because I've met a lot of people this year. And more than likely, then next year, we're going to meet them at some point. And they seem like some down-to-earth people. So shout out to them. Shout out to Deadlock. Shout out to the Public Enemies podcast as well for coming in second place with 10 votes. So, and yo, let's continue to support each other. No matter what shit, if they are good people, they deserve to be supported. And Deadlock, the Public Enemies podcast and their community that they're building, OTS Media, Black Wrestling Podcast, this podcast network that we're building over here. It's just let's just support each other. Whether if it's a download, a listen, a like, a retweet, that goes a long way, and it actually brings a warm feeling to our hearts. And shout out to everybody who voted in this category because we didn't even have to put this category up. It was just something that I just wanted to do and see if people actually voted. And yo, congratulations to everybody. Like shout out to all of y'all.
Much love, good people. Much love.
Next up, we have Best Fan Reaction of the Year. The nominees are Cody Rhodes' return to WWE WrestleMania 38 Night 1. Bray Wyatt's return to WWE Extreme Rules 2022. Kenny Omega's return from injury AEW in August 2022. Bayley's return from injury SummerSlam 2022. Becky Lynch's return from injury on SmackDown this past November 2022. Bianca Belair's redemption victory over Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38 Night 1. Stone Cold Steve Austin's return to wrestling at WrestleMania 38 Night 1. And we have one other specific. Someone put CM Punk's return to AEW. That was a nice reaction there. Like it was a moment. It was a feel good moment because I was one of those who actually enjoyed his return. If it ends the way that it ended, that's terrible. But yo, that was one of the biggest pops of the year. I can't even lie.
It was, man. I mean, it helps that it was. I mean, it's kind of like cheating. It helps that it was in his hometown, though. But I mean, it count,
was kind of it counts, but it was cheating because it was literally in Chicago. So. It's a double-edged sword because, like, would that pop have happened if it was in, like, say, New Orleans or New York? Like, it probably would have happened in New York. I feel like it would have happened anywhere. Or Sacramento. I feel like it would have happened anywhere because he was gone for 7 years. Like, Phil Brooks is one thing, but CM Punk, even though they're the same person, but it's like you can tell that people missed him. So. But they also missed the winner of this poll, which was pretty much a landslide with 22 votes. And that was Bray Wyatt's return to WWE Extreme Rules 2022. The Eater of Worlds, The Fiend. What did you like? To be honest with you, looking back, that was a feel good moment. Like the pop that man got from just walking out, and just took a mask off. Like it literally clipped. Yeah, it clipped the you know how, because when you look at the camera, you know how they had the cameras have a microphone on it, and it was wired to get picked up on the feed. They clipped out that microphone so bad. Brace said they had to dub over for like highlights. Like highlight packages, they had to dub over him saying, "I'm here," because they tried to get the live action of him saying, "I'm here," but it clipped. It clipped the whole microphone where you heard you heard feedback, so they had to mute it quick because it was that loud.
Dude, like that night was it was something special. I mean, that it ain't too often when you get a return so heavily that it gets a bunch of holy-ish chants right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those where even though people kind of expected it and anticipated it per se, it still came off like a whole surprise because it was just the fact of the aura of how he did it and the fact that that place just erupted. Like, last time I can think of an eruption that huge, and even that might somewhat pale in comparison, is probably when Triple H returned from his injury in like 2002. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and they was in MSG.
That was a crazy pop.
And it was
Yeah.
that was the mecca of arenas at the time. I'm pretty sure it still is. They don't really do MSG anymore, so we don't know.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, that was, and the way that they built that concept where you had to scan the QR codes, I got annoyed, me personally, because I don't feel like pausing the TV while watching Raw or SmackDown and scanning a QR code. Like That's it. So I told people, I'm like, yo, I'm not scanning it no more, and going down the rabbit hole. And would you say that this what they're doing with Bray Wyatt is a flop? Me, not really. They're taking their time. Like, do you think they need to hurry up and get to the point at some point?
Nah, I think they're doing well with the slow build. I mean, you gotta let stuff cook and marinate, man. If you try to eat it while it's still raw and all meat, you can eat stuff not well done if you want. I mean, if you like it like that, hey, that's cool for y'all. But,
yeah, you're a vampire.
Hey, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you blade. Yeah, I mean, hey. I mean, get that joint well done, please. Let it do what it's doing. Let it simmer.
Let it marinate. Like, you wouldn't eat steak if it was raw. Like, come on now. Or you wouldn't eat the Salisbury steak while it still got too much pink in the middle. Like, you wouldn't eat a ribeye steak while you can't really cut through it. Like, come on now, let it marinate, let it simmer. Like, we know a lot of y'all are unseasoned. Y'all don't know how to cook. When we as black people, we know how to cook. You got to season it. Then you got to let it sit overnight. You got to let it get that room temperature right quick. Then you put it in the oven on a slow cook where you let it where you let it simmer, and then you finally put that slab of ribs after it's semi fall off the bone, and you put it on the grill, and then you let it cook for a little few minutes. You take it off, put some barbecue sauce on it, put it right back so you get a touch of the rib taste. I mean, not the rib taste, the grill taste, and then you got some good ribs. You gotta let it cook, man. Don't rush. I'm enjoying it. Like like him cooking with LA Knight right now, because LA Knight promo wise is one of my favorites right now in WWE.
Man.
So
come on,
and the way
tell it, brother.
So that's what I'm saying. So you gotta let it cook. Let them cook right quick. Like, we know y'all don't. We know some of y'all think salt and pepper is seasoning. It's not. You gotta let it cook. You gotta let him put some slap your mama on there. Put some ancient mamas. Like, let him cook. Let him cook a little bit. Let him put some Creole seasoning, some soy sauce. Let him marinate. I'm putting a lot of seasonings together because I'm trying to make a point. But you know what I'm saying. Like, let them actually put some seasoning in there that has some taste. Don't let them cook. That's all I'm saying.
And that is a fact of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Dummy. Yeah. Oh boy.
All right. So we did we just did the best fan reaction of the year, but you know what? We gotta give the props and response to the person with the best return of the year. And the nominees are Cody Rhodes returns at WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt returns at Extreme Rules. Jon Moxley returns from rehab. MJF, quote unquote, returns at AEW All Out, even though we all knew he wasn't going. Bayley and Dakota Kai returns at SummerSlam. I guess you can put Io Sky in there because she was in NXT and she was gone for a minute. So I guess you could put her in that one. And we didn't get any other responses. So the winner it was a little tight. So the winner is none other than Cody Rhodes returning at WrestleMania with 16 votes. What did you think about this return? Like, even though it's like, you know how a lot of people felt about him in AEW because he was refusing to turn heel. People were booing him left and right, even after he burnt himself literally in a flaming table spot. So
yeah, he was turning into John Cena of the AEW world at that point. You know,
so to see him to see him come back to WWE at WrestleMania as Seth Rollins' surprise opponent, and I put air quotes because I feel like a lot of people knew it was going to be him, but they still doubted. I was one of those people who doubted it because I was like, "Is he?" And I was like, "Yep, he actually did it." I think I tweeted. I said he actually did it.
We thought he was gonna troll everyone and just show up on a Dynamite and be like, "Y'all thought I was really leaving?" No, but no, he did it. And I mean, you put on an epic match, and then you cut a killer promo the next night on Raw that really just reminded us of not only the fact that you are a Rhodes, but you know how much Dusty is very much missed and valued. So, man. Yeah, this definitely safe to say. I mean, shout out to every other return. Those were just about as great as this one, but this one deserved to win this one for a lot of reasons.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that because I know and it led to killer matches back to back. WrestleMania Backlash, the one where the purple tip debuted at Hell in a Cell. So, and then obviously he'll be back at some point. People are already having him shoe in to win the Royal Rumble and go on to possibly dethrone Roman Reigns at WrestleMania as the Undisputed Champion. We'll see. We'll see. But, Cody Rhodes winning the return of the year, it feels right a little bit. Even though I enjoy Bray's return a little bit more, just a tad because of me being a fan of Bray Wyatt. And I enjoyed John Moxley's return because entering yourself into rehab to fix your issues is important, as well as MJF returning. That got a pop, even though it got overshadowed because of the whole media scrum thing. And Bayley and Dakota Kai's return and Io Sky as well. It popped me, and I'm pretty sure you, even because we were there when it happened.
Oh yeah, we were there. Yeah,
it was a good feeling to see that live. So shout out to all the nominees, like you said, and kudos to Cody Rhodes on winning that. All right, next up we have the LGBTQ plus Superstar Wrestler of the Year. We here at the Gresh and Hi-Lite podcast, we believe in you living your life free of judgment, criticism, and ridicule. Pardon me. So we decided, like, hey, let us include everybody, because if you listen to my intro, is greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary pals, and everybody in between. We want to make sure everybody is included and let them know that this is a safe space. Like, we don't judge nobody. No matter your belief, whatever the case may be, we love everybody. So for this year, we have, for this year's first ever LGBTQ plus Superstar Wrestler of the Year, is none other than the only Anthony Bowens of the Acclaim. Got to give that man his flowers, because, ladies and gentlemen, this man is one of the most entertaining parts of the Acclaim. You have Max Caster doing the rap gimmick. Scissor Me Daddy Ass was literally, this man was injured, and he literally cut a promo after every entrance. He said, "Scissor Me Daddy," and it caught on. It literally it caught on like a forest fire that just started spreading. So shout out to the Acclaim. Shout out to Anthony Bowen specifically. Continue to represent. Continue to tell your truth. Well, we here at the Gresh and Hi-Lite podcast are sending everybody in that community love and light, because that's all we can do, and that's all as a we want to make sure you have a safe space in this community, whether it's us, any other podcast that you listen to, and we love every last one of you. Got any thoughts?
Indubitably. Man, listen, shout out to the Acclaim. I mean, even with Max Caster, to my understanding, he's bisexual. So it's one of those where it's like, it's doing its thing, man. Props to everybody in wrestling, man. Shout out to my boy Rico Gonzalez on the independent scene, part of the LGBTQ community, you know what I'm saying? And AC Matt, you know what I mean? Like, so many dope wrestling talents on the independent scene, part of that community as well, man. Out there grinding and doing their thing. So, man, hey, keep grinding, man. You're doing your thing, and can't forget about our guy, Fred Rosser, aka formerly known as Darren Young.
Yes, sir.
Also out there in New Japan. So Nyla Rose, I mean, the list goes on, man. Shout out to every talent out there, part of that community.
Oh yeah, you had so many runner-ups. You had Kid Bandit, you had Sonny Kiss, you had I believe that Giselle Shaw. You had so many runner-ups, but Anthony
Okay.
Bowens was the unanimous decision there. Shout out to every last one of you guys for real, because we love everybody who lives their truth. Like let's be 100% real.
Legit.
All right. So next up, we're going to step into the independent circuit and give you guys are going to give you you had the option to submit for your local favorite independent wrestler of the year, and it was viewers choice. We didn't give you any nominees. We let you guys submit your own responses for this one because we feel like we don't know all the independent wrestlers. We don't know where you guys reside. So here we go. We got for this year's independent local wrestler of the year is none other than the Dreadlock Demolition Machine, Bojack. He is the first ever DPW World Heavyweight Champion. Shout out to you, my brother. He is one of the best powerhouses that I've had the pleasure of seeing. I can't wait to see him live because I plan on going to DPW at some point in 2023. But I met so many people. I've learned about so many independent wrestlers watching DPW. It's insane. I already knew about Calvin Tankman because I watched MLW, but shout out to Bojack for this one, and shout out to you guys for submitting because we have quite a few submissions. We have Ruthless Lala. She was on the podcast recently. We have Willow Nightingale, even though she just signed to AEW. I'm guessing because she was an independent wrestler all year up until signing a few months ago. Mariah May, she was submitted.
Okay.
NA, is that a person?
That sounds like an app. Well, unless there's a wrestler named NA for real, that's an interesting name. Not applicable, you know what I'm saying? Not applicable.
We have Colby Carino. He was submitted. Konosuke Takeshita. They were independent for a minute until they recently signed with AEW. So I guess that can count. We have Matt Cardona. Is he signed to a major company?
Not really. Technically, he is considered independent right now.
True. And we last but certainly not least, we have Brian Keith. I've never had the pleasure. Do you? So there's so many names on here that I have to look into besides Matt Cardona because we all know who Matt Cardona
who that is, of course.
But there's so many names on here that we have to submit. But yo, shout out to Bojack, the Dreadlock Demolition Machine, for picking up this inaugural award for local independent wrestler of the year. And last but certainly not least, for the viewer's choice, we have the viewer's match of the year. And we have so many good nominees and you also had the option to submit your own specific. And I believe the other was the winner, but we're going to run down the nominees. The nominees are as follows: FTR versus the Briscoe Brothers, 2 out of 3 falls. ROH Death Before Dishonor 2022. CM Punk versus MJF in the Dog Collar match at AEW Revolution. The NXT North American Championship ladder match at NXT Stand and Deliver. FTR versus Briscoes in a double dog collar match at ROH Final Battle. The Jericho Appreciation Society versus the BCC, Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz in an Anarchy in Arena match at AEW Double or Nothing. Braun Breaker versus Tyler Bate at NXT Worlds Collide. Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy at AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door. Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. Kyrie versus I don't want to butcher her name, Maru Iwatani. Mayu Iwatani. If I butcher that, I apologize. That was for the inaugural New Japan Pro Wrestling Women's Championship at New Japan Stardom Historic Crossover. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in a last man standing match at SummerSlam. The Hardy Boys versus the Young Bucks at AEW Double or Nothing. Braun Breaker versus Ilya Dragunov versus JD McDonough at NXT Halloween Havoc. The Bloodline versus Drew McIntyre and RK Bro at WrestleMania Backlash. Claudio Castagnoli versus Zack Sabre Jr. at AEW Forbidden Door. Pac versus Kip Sabian at AEW All Out. The Elite versus Hangman Adam Page and the Dark Order at AEW All Out. And Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Luchasaurus inside of a steel cage at AEW Full Gear. Those are quite the nominees and quite the nominations, but they did not win. Because the winner of this year's Viewer's Choice Match of the Year, which was selected by you, the viewer, is none other than Sheamus versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship at Clash at the Castle 2022. And in the words of Big E, big meaty men smacking meat.
You know?
And shout out to that match. That match was crazy. That was a good list.
It was.
That was a great list for nominees. So that was a killer match. What's your thoughts on this? Because I believe this was your favorite match this year.
This was. It was everything I needed, wanted, and expected it to be. So I automatically had that as my match of the year. I must have watched that match over about at least a couple times this year since it aired. So like, man. Yeah, that's definitely one you're going to put in the greatest hits playlist for sure of 2022. So shout out to those two phenomenal gentlemen working their style, stiff, strong, and you know what I mean? Exactly what you expect. But going into those other nominees, I mean, all of those matches were definitely incredibly fire and definitely deserve their props in their own right. The fact that they're nominees, and I know that some of them got left out.
Oh, it was a lot. It's a lot. That's the thing about this year. It was so much wrestling and so much good wrestling that it was hard to pick. I literally sat down for, this is the longest that it took. I was on a plane and I had to come up with this list because it was so much wrestling this year. And I'm pretty sure it was a lot more good in Japan. It was a lot more good in Mexico that got omissed from this list. But think of put yourself in my shoes. Like you had to literally try to come. I came up with, how many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 matches. I was going to originally do 5, but I couldn't. So I came up with 17 matches and I tried to be as unbiased as possible. It was WWE, AEW, and New Japan. Like I literally had to simmer. I had to numb it down to get this list. And it's hard. And I'm pretty sure 2023, the crop of talent that is in WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, Stardom, AAA, that is there right now is going to make 2023 that much harder. And as a wrestling fan, I'm all for it because that means we are eating as wrestling fans. Whether you love AEW and hate WWE, whether you hate AEW and love WWE, or whether you're like me and love both and enjoys both. This is for everyone. Wrestling is fun. It's supposed to be fun. If you take it too serious, you need to seek help. You really do.
Yeah,
because
man.
It's wrestling.
Get in the vibes. Get in the vibes, bro. Like,
come on.
You know what I mean? Like, just go be a part of the wave. Hard to Kill coming out to the A. You know what I'm saying? January 13th. If I'm
not booked, I might end up in there and I might go with Highlight. So we can see what that's
about. Up, man.
So
I mean, it's gonna be fun.
That's what I'm saying. It's all about fun. I don't know the storylines. That's the beauty behind it. If I don't know what's going on, I'm just enjoying, and it's good wrestling. Fuck it, we ball.
We ball.
That's it.
We ball.
That's it.
You know?
But shout out to Sheamus versus Gunther for winning the Viewer's Choice of Match of the Year, and shout out to you, the listener, viewer, for voting for this year's End of the Year award. We love and appreciate you guys. Thank you. And honestly, that's all we can ask for. And let's move on to the final Academy. No, I'm just playing. I don't care about Academy. The final what am I trying to come up with? What am I going? Tell me what I'm trying to do. The final award to give out for this year's end of the year award.
The main event. Took out Mark Henry's line. It's time for the main event.
All right, now we're going to get out of here. But before we do, we got one more category for you guys, and that is the overall superstar of the year. You voted. We got your votes in. You got your selections, but now we have to wrap up today's episode and wrap up this part of the end of the year awards, which will culminate on the next episode or the next installment of the Likes of Botch podcast. Make sure you guys are following that or wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I believe it's also on YouTube under the OTS Media.
Yes.
So
that is correct.
Make sure you guys follow that as well. But for overall superstar of the year, we are going to do a mini coin toss. Let me see if I can find the app. I'm going to do the app. We're going to do a mini coin toss, and whoever it lands on picks the winner of overall superstar of the year. So let's pull this up. So heads is me. Tails is you. Ready?
All right. Let's do it.
Let's flip it. If you're not looking at it on YouTube, you cannot see it. So there's no cheating. Heads. So I get to pick the overall superstar of the year. There's no cheating.
All right.
Highlight saw it. I saw it. And it was like there's no cheating. So heads, I get to pick the overall superstar of the year. And the nominees are Roman Reigns, Bianca Belair, Jon Moxley, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Bobby Lashley, Sheamus, Gunther, Bryan Danielson, and MJF. This will be tough because I've enjoyed every last one of these people on this list so far. I've enjoyed anything involving Roman, Bianca, John, Seth, Sammy, Bobby, Sheamus, Gunther, Bryan, MJF. I've enjoyed every last one of whether I was supposed to love them or hate them. I enjoyed it. This is one hell of a year for them. But I'm gonna have to go. This is a first. I would pick you, but I can tell you this right now. It is not the head of the table because the winner of the overall superstar of the year is none other than the EST, Bianca Belair.
Hey. 2-time for the EST of WWE. There you go, Bianca. You deserve it.
And the reason why I put that is simply because whether it's in ring, whether you see her outside the ring, whether she's been killing it. She's been doing her thing. She's multi-talented as all hell. It's like you cannot take that away from nobody. She designs her own gear. She stays in shape. She's married. She's happily married by that. She's literally the champion, so that means she got to do press, all that stuff. She has to travel. And then in the middle of it, she won. I guess she won, or she was in the high ranking of a fitness competition recently. So she did all that on her downtime. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So I had to give it to her. Roman, you're the honorable mention again. Sorry about that, but you won. At least you won male superstar of the year. But overall superstar of the year, I got to give it to Bianca. I'm sorry. It had to be done because I had to give her props. Sorry. Who do you got for honorable mention, brother?
Well, let me just say one and two part. Whether you would have won or whether I would have won that head to tails battle, my outcome was going to be the same as yours as far as the winner overall. I had the EST as my winner as well. Okay. So that just goes from personal experience of the fact that we both got to meet her this year, and we saw firsthand because she had like how many meet and greets that week?
They had to get to the point where she was like, no autographs. But every time you met her, you didn't see, she did not show that she was exhausted. You could tell she was exhausted, but she did not show it on her face. And
her husband
that
too,
is
for that matter.
Oh, shout out Montez Ford. That dude, body slamming big people like it's nothing. I'm like, bro, give
Holding
him a single
poses.
title at some point. Like, come on, man.
You know, just gonna stand like this the entire time and not move like a statue. You know, like, hey.
He was like, I'm tired of this. All right, so I'm gonna stand like this the entire time. Y'all just take your picture. All right, boom. And he literally stood there the entire time. I think it was like 15, 20 minutes. He stood there the entire time. He did not move. He didn't. He turned into a statue. You would have thought we was taking a picture with a statue. The only one who,
a wax figure or something.
The only one who was moving was Big Dog.
Yeah, pretty much, bro. Like,
but everybody else, but he was just, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. So shout out to all the nominees. Shout out to everybody. There's so many things you can do in ring wise, because at the end of the day, it is wrestling. But before we move on, who's your honorable mention?
So looking back at a lot of this, my honorable mention, in all honesty, is gonna go to none other than MJF.
Okay.
Because we got the payoff. We got the payoff, and we got it this year.
It wasn't
even though we might have.
It wasn't because I think the payoff for me would have been him beating CM Punk, but
true
Punk being Punk, we can't really control that. So he got the payoff. He ended the year as world champion. He finally won the title. So,
and is the flag bearer of the company. He's like the John Cena now, if you will, or the Roman Reigns of his company now. Like, it runs through him at this point. He's got the full keys. He's the guy. Everything we knew he was eventually going to be, he is now officially that thing. So expect a lot of him putting a lot of people over. Not necessarily in a form of a loss, but just, like what he did with Ricky, just, allowing him to speak and not even having to interrupt. Just go ahead. We want people to see that you can go toe to toe with me verbally. We want people to see that you can wrestle with me, stuff like that. So, yeah, man, his mic game, crowd response. Think about it. The moment, even though we didn't really like the whole Joker thing, the way it was done,
yeah.
When we knew that was MJF, the crowd went crazy. When you heard the man's music at the end of that night, the crowd went crazy. Like, his reactions lately, this year, have just been like GOAT level type reactions. Like, the fans are ready for him to crap over their city and ready for him to just say something that's gonna make you go, "Ooh, I can't believe he just said that." So the only reason I'm putting Bianca over him is mainly just because at the end of the day, Bianca's been doing this a little bit longer, arguably, as far as being at the top of the mountain, I would say. And then also, like you said, man, when you think about a year long, like from that first title reign to this title reign, like, this is that she got it now title reign. Like,
the first title reign was her, like, I can't believe I'm here. This title reign was, I'm here. This is my moment. This is my company. Watch me take over.
Watch me work. And she's beating
like
literally
the song says,
everyone.
"Watch me sign." Or like the song says, "Watch me
sign."
Yeah,
man, she's beating everyone there is to beat. And she's been on her Lady John Cena vibe, if you will, in her own way.
And that's a good thing. Like, a lot of people assume that when we compare her to John Cena, that basically means like the company's behind her. She's the woman to beat. Even if she doesn't have a title, she's the woman to beat. She's basically, and this is there's no direct shot at Charlotte. She's basically what they wanted Charlotte to be, but it just wasn't as well received as it is with Bianca. And and this is not, like I said, this is not to discredit Charlotte, because I'm gonna be honest with you, Charlotte is one of the best in the world.
Oh yeah,
Charlotte's one of the best. Bianca's one of the best. Sasha, whatever she decides to do, she's one of the best. There's so many people off the top of the dome for the modern wrestling that I can say is one of the best. Mickie James, Jordan Grace,
Bayley,
Becky.
Yeah.
There's so many people that you can just throw. Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker. Like, a lot of people don't like Britt Baker. She's been holding her own. Saraya just came back, and Britt carried her to it was a solid match, but it wasn't like. But you can tell like she's their go-to girl. So that's what I'm saying. There's so many people. She's getting up there. So that's what I'm saying. So many people you can be like off the top of the dome. You just like, oh, like this is the best. This is the best. This is the best. This is the best. Sometimes it's to the point where you can take the gender away. Bianca could arguably be one of the best superstars of all time. Same with Charlotte. Same with Roman. Same with Cody Rhodes. Same with Hangman Adam Page. Same with MJF. There's so many people, so many factors you can do. And at the end of the day, it's just professional wrestling that we all enjoy. In Hi-Lite's case, he's been watching it for over 30 years. In my case, I've been watching it for 20 years. So we've seen literally a lot of stuff, and some stuff we don't remember because there's so much we've seen. You got some people who got, it's like, it's not that we don't have long-term memory. It's just so much cluttered into our encyclopedia brains when it comes to professional wrestling that you kind of forget. Like, oh, that did happen. Oh, because I can tell you right now, unless I see it on Peacock, I can forget the entire year of 2009 in WWE because it was just so much going on. And same thing with TNA or Impact now. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's so much we can do. But that is pretty much it for our part one for the end of the year awards. Part two, like I said, will go on over on the Life's a Botch podcast at a later date, and then that will be the end of the year awards and the end of the year for you guys, whether it's here or whether it's on Hi-Lite side. That is it for us for content wise. It has been great, a great 2022. 2023 is the moving forward year because we're working to get in-person podcasting back for this Gresh and Hi-Lite podcast. We're so close to finding a nice studio. Just got to budgeting and all that stuff. Once we get that going, season 2 is right around the corner. And with that being said, we'll catch you guys for part 2 of the end of the year awards over on the Life's a Botch podcast. You can follow me on social media at Josh Gresham ORG. You can follow Swella at Swella the Bandit 3. You can follow Hi-Lite himself at Hi-Lite Life on Twitter, Instagram, or you can search Life's a Botch podcast on Instagram as well. Or make sure you follow OTS Media. Wherever that company is, he is not that far behind. And with that being said, make sure you follow the podcast itself, www.greshandunleashed.com, as well as at Gresh Unleashed on everywhere you listen to your podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is at Gresh Unleashed Pod. They gave us usernames now, so you can subscribe over there. And you can also leave a rating. You can listen back to over 30 episodes of the Gresh Unleashed podcast, and this is just the beginning, my friends. This is us being us for the year 2022. We are signing off for this part of the end of the year awards, and we're signing off officially for the year for the Gresh and Hi-Lite podcast. And with that being said, you guys stay safe out here in these streets, and remember to always, like the theme song says, eat, sleep, flex, and repeat. We out. Be breezy.